Hey, welcome to our little biped tutorial. What a biped is it's a tool that's used if you create a character or some sort of mesh that you want to be able to control with a skeleton of sorts. Then you can do what's called rigging your mesh or skinning it to a bone structure, which is essentially what a biped is. So let's get into creating one. Start off over here with your Create tab, come over here to Systems, and then choose Biped. You'll see these different options pop up. We'll get into each of these once we actually drag out and create our biped. So let's go ahead and click out here in your work plane and drag upwards, and you'll see this little guy shows up. What I like to do is expand this so I can see all my options without having to scroll too much. All right, so I have my biped showing up here. Body types, this all can be adapted to whatever kind of mesh that you're trying to create. So if you wanted to create something that's a little bit more bulky, has a male type of a shape, then you can do that. They have female as well, and classic, which is kind of just a big blocky type figure. So these can all be adapted for today's uses, and what we're doing right now, just create a skeleton body type, and we'll get into how we can manipulate these. So all of these settings down below here are how you can configure your structure. So you can have them with arms, no arms. I don't know why. It just depends on what kind of character you're trying to create here. Different variations of how many neck links, spine links as well, leg links. You can see how that throws in an extra joint there. If we turn this guy around, we'll be able to see that you can create tails, ponytails even, fingers. Let's zoom in here on the fingers and you can see this. For our character, let's just go ahead and add in 5 fingers for him. We typically have 3 finger links for each of our fingers. Toes, right now it shows 1 toe with 3 links. You can add in your own toes if you want to, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times those are just left as one and scaled up to look a little bit different because most characters tend to wear shoes. Fingers are exposed a lot of times, so those are usually always visible. We can scroll down here, different things you can add here. Knuckles, you can add knuckles, and you see how that does. Kind of turns your whole hand to shape into your little phalanges, so your finger bones here show up. And you can also show you've got short thumb, which is automatically there. Then down below we have extras and twist links. Twist links would be certain joints, like let's say your forearm, where you can rotate your forearm and without having to reconfigure your whole structure of your arm. So if I go here and choose, oops, I might have to change that later in a different setting. If I go here and choose forearm and add a twist link, means I can rotate this forearm right here without having to rotate from up here at the ball joint in the shoulder. So let's say you got your character kind of somewhat created, and you can kind of monkey around with him and see different configurations you might want to work with. A lot of this is going to be just experimental mode. Rigging a character and skinning a character is very, very time consuming, and I'm hoping that we'll find ways that we can get around having to do this for our animations. It's really something that is for a team of people to be working on. Although some people enjoy the challenge and enjoy wanting to rig an entire character from their own bone structure, which is completely fine. But there's other ways that you can animate without creating a whole bone structure. It's a lot of upfront work. So now that I've thrown out that little warning, here's what we have. What I want to do now is get into the motion part of this character. And so if I go into the motion tab, I've got my biped selected, and you see that all of these start to show up. Now it got to the point where I clicked away and I could not make changes on my biped anymore. So if I go to figure mode right here, you're going to see that more of those, oops, didn't mean to do that. Go into the structure, and I can get back into changing this guy. Like I was wanting to, I don't want Knuckles, but I do want to add a twist on his forearm. And so that's something that I wish I had done, but now I can because I went into figure mode, and that's found again in the motion tab. So here's where you can make some other alterations to your character if you need to. Down here is also extras. And this just gets into symmetrical items and syncing certain things that I'm not really going to get into right now. So that is kind of how you can alter your character. If you click off of your biped, you can come into motion, biped, structure, and you can even change the body type again if you wanted to. So that is the first part of kind of configuring your biped and customizing him, her, whatever, as you want him to be. So that's part one of this, and play around, get comfortable with working with customizing your biped, and we'll get into creating some motion next.